Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Hot Takes. I'm joined again by Davide and Ethan, and of course, the big drama we've got to talk about this week. The first thing we've got to talk about is the Vladi situation. We do have a bit of a conflict on here, though, so I'll make the disclaimer for you, Ethan, because I know that Vladi talks about single-digit IQ KC fans, and I know you are a single-digit IQ KC fan, so I'll just get the awkwardness out of the way. I'll announce it at the start, so listeners, take that how you want. You can discard Ethan's opinions if you like, but there we go. I thought we should make that disclaimer. But yeah, let's just start with that.
So
How much of that have you guys seen?
Sorry?
I was just going to say, like, what are your thoughts on all this?
So just to start things off, I'm not a KC fan. I used to watch a lot of KC because I'm very, we say chauvin in France. It means like I love watching my country strive in sports, in any sports. So of course KC is a French organization. I will root for them because Vitality actually is out of the picture in League of Legends. So yeah,
Good boys.
but outside of that, I feel like, to me, what happened is a combination of many factors. Like, obviously, the hatred he received was way too much and way too much to handle for a 19-year-old guy. And also, I feel like his reaction was obviously immature, but he's again 19, so you can't wait for him to react in the best way. And the problem I see is that he didn't, I guess, got media trained enough to react that way on his chat in live in front of maybe 2K or 3K person. Like, it's not something you can, like, it's not a normal comportment from a pro player. But to me, it's not that much of a big deal. Like, obviously, when you compare it with sports, it's like crazy. Imagine if someone do that with Tottenham. Like, he just say that half of Tottenham are.
I remember the closest thing I remember is I think it might have been an England match, but it was Wayne Rooney who I'm sure it was an England match where I don't know who we were playing, but like the team was playing rubbish or something, and the fans had booed the team a bit, and then as he left the pitch at half time, and like the cameras, he was like the England captain, and the cameras are following right in his face, and then he like looked at the camera and he said, "Oh, it's nice to have your own fans booing you," and that was like a massive thing. Like, he didn't even really say anything controversial there, but it's just the fact of saying something against your own fans is like, you're asking for trouble, aren't you? I should clarify what's actually been said as well. And I don't know what. So
Yeah, sure.
maybe before we go through his chat, what was the abuse he was getting? Because I didn't really I'm not like that clued in on like the KC intricacies and that. Was it just on stream he was getting shit in his chat?
Yeah, like, actually on Twitter he was getting shit on a lot. It was like right after the movie Starcoy series, and the thing is, he was getting out of lane with like a 500 gold disadvantage over Jojo always, like in all 3 games, I think. And fans were a bit pissed off about that, I guess. Even though actually he played very well the later stages of the game in all the 2 games they won. So yeah, I guess that's the only reason. And then he started a stream like right after the win, and someone was like copy pasting like shit posts, and he was at the end he answered like that.
Yeah. So what he's done is, in his own chat, he's put 2 messages. I don't know the order of these, but one of them says, "I'm playing for KC, but the majority of the fan base of this org is by far the worst I've seen." And then he also said, and it's funny the part of this that you didn't disagree with, but he said, I would appreciate if the single-digit IQ KC fans shut their mouth and keep their opinions for their own. So I'm glad you clarified you're not a KC fan. No clarification about the single-digit IQ from you, Ethan, but okay, fine.
No, but to be honest, there are some KC fans that are single-digit IQ.
Yeah,
like we have to.
That's the thing.
Hot take.
Agree on that, right?
I mean, is it a hot take that there's like there are mental
Is
KC
that hot
fans?
take?
I had it once. This is before they were even in the LEC, while they were in the ERLs, and
Yeah.
there was like a minor controversy. Well, I guess it feels minor in the grand scheme of things. It wasn't minor for the KC fans about like their like cartoon mascot that the NLC social media admin like photoshopped it to NLC colors and posted it, and they went crazy because it was a cartoon that Kometo had commissioned, and they were saying it was Karmine Corp's copyrighted material that the NLC was stealing. And bear in mind the cartoon was in the style of Pepe the Frog, which I'm sure they don't probably own the IP for, and it was a drawing of Luffy from One Piece, which they definitely don't own the IP for. So it was like a muddy thing as to whether like there was even really any debate. But yeah, I made the mistake of putting a comment, just a post on Twitter about I think it was along the lines of like the absolute state of these fans getting up in arms over this cartoon kind of thing. And someone from KC that had like 100 or 150k followers like quote tweeted me, and my phone was just going crazy for like 2 hours. Like people called me a clown. How are you a journalist? You don't know what the copyright means. And one person was actually quite nice. They just said, "I just wish you would do a better job." They weren't really mean. They were just saying they were just disappointed in me. So I can only imagine what it's like to be on like a much bigger scale. I'm like a nobody, and it was like kind of crazy for me to get like 50 messages. Yeah, I dread to think what it's like for someone bigger like that. And I guess is there maybe a thing in KC where it's like it feels like Vladi and Kalist are the two. I wouldn't say like the two kind of main players in terms of even just like the image of KC at the moment, but like they're the two that you feel like are the ones like they made their debuts in the LEC with KC. They're these young talents that you feel like they'd be having or they'd want to have for many years. And maybe there's like I don't know something there where with Kalist being the one that is French and came through came through the whole academy system and everything. Maybe there's a bit of like the fans would be more inclined to have a go at Vladi or something like that. I don't know. That's just kind of theory crafting, but yeah.
I'm not sure, but I feel like just when you go back to winter and to some like when you go back even to last summer with Vladi in GLC, I feel like he was very very like promising. Like he had a very very good showing in summer, and to be honest, I was a bit worried about his laning phase because I was like, okay, he's very good when the game like goes to mid game when there are team fight and everything. He will always be like a very reliable threat. But in early game, he already had a few issues, and then came winter, and it was just like it just seemed like all his flows in early game disappeared, and he was just the best, like no contest in GLC. And after that spring, where he got kinda gapped by Jojo, even though I still think his regular season was very good. But yeah, in playoff he was not looking like himself, and now he's still not looking like himself to me. Like I think, like if we have to be honest, the worst player in KC right now. Because I think all the other four are very, very consistent. Like even Targama stepped it up a lot since GLC started back. And maybe with Yike also has some weaknesses that I feel like. But outside of that, I think it's just that he is not in his best shape when you look at his winter. He's still very good, to be honest. Like when the later stages come, he's always reliable. But yeah, when you look at his winter, it's just not as good as he was in winter, even though he's still in the top 3 to me. And I think it's just because of that, because I think fans had huge expectations after that winter where he completely smurfed GLC. And now that he's maybe playing a bit worse, they are just disappointed, you know. And to be honest, just to come back on that single digit IQ KC fan thing, like I think all the biggest fan bases have single digit IQ fans. Like it's just a
100%.
normal thing. Like you can't get rid of them, right? Like MCOYs probably have them. Fnatic, I can tell you by watching my Reddit post on the interview with Oscar that there are some Fnatic fans that are single digit IQ. And yeah, I just think it's normal, to be honest. But the problem is when it is getting, you know, too much. When every time you start the stream, you have someone that is shouting at you, even though you just won a BO3 that make you first in your group, and that you will be one BO5 away from wars. Someone in your chat comes and say you play like shit. Like, it obviously it's tilting, right? And if you're an emotional player, things like that can happen. And actually, I'm very glad that, because I don't know if you showed it, but he eventually apologized to the fan base, yeah. And so it's a good sign that is, you know, going in the good path, and that is growing also, like as a person.
Yeah, yeah, because in between there as well, Kameto had posted first. This is like with the Twitter translator, so if any of this is wrong,
Yeah.
not my fault. But he said that he spoke to Vladi. Yeah, it was in the heat of the moment because of his messages in his chat, but he's aware of also the positive messages he gets from the fan base. And he wanted to apologize, he says, and it's been recommended that he step away from social media. And I feel like that's like a tricky part of it as well, because I've seen the argument be made, yeah, but like when there's things with KC fans or like T1 fans, like you say, like all of the biggest, all of these like massive fan bases
Yeah.
will all have
T1
these kind of like idiots and psychos, and I've seen the argument be made like, well, we want teams to be getting passionate fans because obviously that helps to grow the whole thing, and when you want that, it's going to happen. Like there's nothing we can do about it, kind of thing. And like I get that, but then it's and basically saying like in traditional sports, this has always been the case, and we kind of accept it, and it is how it is. But then I feel like the difference is in if I was like a football player, it's very easy for a football player to exist and not use social media. Like maybe like for the sake of their job at least. Like it
Yeah, sure.
doesn't not really needed. There are like tons of football players that don't do anything, or they just let somebody manage it for them, and there's not actually really any of their own personality in there anyway, and they just had nothing to do with it. I feel like in esports that's not really the same. Like you do have to be building your brand online, and you know, well, especially a lot of pro players, they'll have it in their contract that they've got to stream X number of hours, and it is like unavoidable. Like they cannot just totally ignore the community, and therefore like they're gonna have to see this kind of shit when it does happen. So I don't know. I feel like there's got to be something, and I'm not. This is not to say that Casey don't do anything like, but I'm just reckon like the orgs have got to at least try to do stuff to kind of stem that and discourage it as much as they can. But yeah, as you say, Vladi has apologized, and in this as well, he mentioned something else. Like I guess someone had dug up some old messages or something. I didn't actually see where any of this came from until I saw it in this apology. He also says, well, he starts it with, I've seen an old screenshot from a game I played a few years ago. I used unacceptable and hurtful language. I was 16, 17 and immature, but that doesn't excuse it. Looking back, I'm embarrassed and ashamed of those words. I've grown a lot since then and deeply regret them. I have absolutely no idea what that was about. And I tried to...
Well, I'm not gonna say what it was about, but it was like a bit racist
Oh, shit.
and yeah, homophobic.
Okay,
So yeah,
fair enough.
not the best.
Um, and to be fair, in terms of apologies, that's one thing that there's in like the whole meta of like influencer slash like content people apologies. There's like a known thing where a lot of them will like obfuscate things where they'll apologize, but they won't actually say what they're apologizing for. And for him to actually like, obviously he's not said exactly what words he said here, but that's like pretty good at like owning up for it, like saying what it was. Like there were not just saying I'm apologize for what's going around on social media right now and being like vague about it. Yeah, that's pretty commendable, I think. And yeah, he also apologizes then for, of course, the messages in his stream. Says he reacted badly while he was tilted and he shouldn't have. I know it's only a small part of the community and I appreciate the support. So yeah, that seems to be kind of over and done with now. But then it is, I mean, like there does still feel like there's, because even before this, we were wondering if something was going on with him. Obviously, with the Niski thing.
Yeah.
And I've got here your interview with with the KC's coach, where
Ria,
you've
yeah.
kind of asked him like, can you clarify it? And he gave this quite a long
It's a
response,
long way to clarify
and
things.
I read it, and and at the end of it, I thought, I don't feel like that I've been clarified to. Yeah, so well, I don't know. Rather than read the whole thing, are you able
Yeah,
to
if I have to
are you
sum
able
up
to
things,
clarify his clarification?
yeah, he said basically that in the end, Niski would be like a joker that they could use if because Niski has like particular picks that if Vladi, I guess, because he didn't say it like that, but if Vladi does not show up on that picks or that they don't feel like he's confident on these picks, Niski might show up um, and actually play in a BO5 at Worlds or even later in the season. Like it should be possible to see Niski playing if like the right situations comes up and that he can, show up one of his pick, then that Vladi is not playing. Basically, that's what I understood, and also the fact that they wanted to have the more option possible before the player roster lock that was in July, I think.
Yeah,
So they had
24th.
to make sure they take someone else if needed, and they took Niski, and yeah, that's basically it.
I mean, when I was editing the answer, for me, it was like it was a long answer, but it was quite clear to me, just because of I think that the whole thing is they still think Vladi is the guy to go with,
Yeah.
just in case something happens that heavily influences himself or the rest of the team's performance, then Niski will probably be coming up as a temporary replacement, hoping that Vladi like manages himself, or in case like the meta heavily shifts towards something that Niski is very favorable, very strong on. I think it's just KC trying to cover their own bases, because their goal is to make it to Worlds, and it's fair to have a six man that actually like the whole thing of six mans is usually both players want to be on the main like on the starting lineup so badly, and like obviously this can also be the case on KC. Like we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes, but it's actually I think it's a more of a how do you say it, like a positive environment from how I gauged it, in terms of like Niski actually having a good relationship with Kometo, and then obviously they probably have talked about like the chances of Niski actually being on a starting lineup with the team.
Yeah. To me, it felt
And
like.
also, yeah, you
Oh,
reminded me of something. It's like I think when I answered, like he answered this question, he also told me that people don't understand that it's the first year of Fearless. And the thing is, I think it's true that we might see, starting from next year, more and more six-man roster, because I think it's something that can really work in and like, yeah, be a good, something good for any team that wants to try it. Like if you have more options in drafts because of a player playing specific picks that your other player don't play, like exactly like CFO did. I think it can be a very good, a very good supply for your team.
I think
I think
he
it
mentioned
helps
CFO in his
raises the
answer.
ceiling. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like it was probably, but I mean, for them, it must have been a no-brainer, really. And I wouldn't be surprised if there probably wasn't even like, not that there wasn't a lot of thought into it, but like given that Niski had just, had just been kicked off Vitality, he's friends with Kometo. I wouldn't be surprised if it was just like, or just someone just had the passing idea, really. Like, oh, what if we just have Niski as a six-man? And there's literally like no downsides to it. Like, he can play different champs to Vladi. He can just keep the pressure on by being a professional. He can stream for them if he needs, like, if he's not playing. There's like literally no downside. And I imagine he probably would have taken a fairly cheap offer as well. He wasn't playing anyway, and probably didn't have plans to. So yeah, there we go. Let's move on then to another drama. So we go from one mental fan base to another one, shall we? And yeah, let's talk about T1 and I guess specifically Gumayusi. From what I understand is I think that I'm right in saying that this was kind of the start of the mental stuff with Gumayusi, or the next kind of catalyst, if you like, where I didn't actually realize this, but there's like subsets of the Korean fan base from T1 that are like pro Smash and pro Gumayusi, and I thought that was like a over and done with debate after Gumayusi had, been pretty good for basically the whole year. And then suddenly they lose one series to, I think it was after they lost
Genji.
it to Genji, right? Yeah. And then T1 fans were laying funeral wreaths in front of the T1 headquarters. And yeah, the message on here again is like auto-translated, but it talks about demanding the recruitment of skilled players in accordance to the Fearless. I'm guessing that means about the Fearless draft. And then Gumayusi has been someone that has had question marks in the past about like champ pool stuff. But yeah, it's just, I mean, it's just one extreme to another, isn't it? How long until we got KC fans doing this, do you reckon?
I think we are far from it. Like, actually, I wonder how fortunate the T1 fans are to send things like that. Like, it's crazy, no?
I was thinking that.
Like, is there an association where they do it?
I think the trucks are actually like a lot more expensive than.
Yeah, sure, but
I wouldn't guarantee that to rent one
the same
truck for a
time.
few hours. These things, especially ones that are like pre-made for like to go in funerals, like they overcharge like crazy for these kind of like flower arrangements and stuff.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if these are like
also,
£100 each or something ridiculous.
No, but they sent a bus at the same time where they sent those flowers. That's the problem. So like yeah, I wonder, but no, I wanted to come back on this because also Guma has been playing very well to me, especially like since the road to MSI. I feel like he was with Keria, they were the best bot lane, to be honest. I saw in LCK and even the world in the road to MSI. Then in MSI itself, they played very well too, to me. Keria was shining a bit more than him, but it's also because of Guma's, I think, champion pool. Like it's also it all come down to this to me because even though he was playing very good, he didn't really change his champion pool at all, right? It's just that Jhin and Bard, they are coming back in the meta and they are too good at it. He was still playing that Misfortune. I didn't see him playing Kaisa, I think, in MSI or anything, so I'm not sure, but I don't think so. So yeah, he's just playing the same champ pool, but it's just that the champ pool is back on the meta. So to me, but I don't see any problem with that, right? If he's performing whatever jump pool is, it's okay. And then I think when they came back, he played very well too. Like I think it was a huge reason why they won to Genji and they stopped that series. So to me, it's crazy that they just have to lose once against the best team in the league, and this happened. Like it showed the level of
That's like a couple of weeks after they ended the win streak of Genji as well, and it's like they're clearly not doing bad. Like the Genji are looking like maybe one of the best teams to ever be formed, and T1 is like the second best team in the world behind them. I mean, it's hardly the biggest like disaster of T1's history. Imagine, I wonder where these fans were when they were in like 2017, 2018, when they actually were shit and they were like changing the whole roster every 5 seconds. I wonder where the funeral wreaths were then. But it's almost, I mean, it's kind of sad. Like it feels like they're just they were waiting for a loss. Like, okay, are we gonna win against Genji today? Okay, we lost. Good. Okay, go ahead with the plan. Go.
We can say it.
What the fuck?
But also one thing is that I can understand their frustration in a way because outside of Worlds, it's been a bit of a time that T1 hasn't won something. So maybe that's the reason too.
I mean, no, actually, like I partially agree with that, but I don't think it's necessarily related to competitive results itself. Like from the way I understood it, it's actually just them being very tilted at the fact that Smash was being forced into a situation where he had to basically be benched due to Gumayusi, like due to, we don't know behind the scenes what went down, but basically like in management just deciding to bring back Guma.
Well, that's what.
I guess it's
well,
just
at least that's what Joe Marsh said publicly that he asked the coaching staff, which
yeah,
I think that is like
exactly.
part of
Like
that is part of definitely the controversy and like what
like
winds
the
people
whole
up more.
thing is that they think that Smash got unfairly treated in this scenario, and I think that it's their way of protesting, kind of. It's just it's so weird that they did it like at such an like specific moments that because it's like you literally do it the day after they lost, or like 2 days after they lost. And actually I read somewhere, I think, that it was actually like I don't know if I'm mistaken right now, but it's like it was actually approved. Like they actually have to get a kind of an approval to actually protest or something like that. Apparently, I'm not sure.
It could be that
In case
depending on like the size
in
of
case
things.
I'm
If it's like a
mistaken.
government thing, you have to like get approval from the council or something to stage protest.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like for me, I wonder like how the timing would work. You know,
Oh,
maybe
yeah,
it's
to
just
do it that
mere
quick.
coincidence that it's like they decided to do it, and they were probably waiting for the Genji match, thinking that
The most
you
likely
know
to
they
lose.
they might not make it, and they said that's the only match that probably T1 is going to do for the rest,
Yeah,
like until
professional
playoffs,
haters, man.
like until playoffs, you know. But like the whole thing for me, it's just that it puts like esports players have so much pressure on themselves already, and obviously like part of the pressure must be there because they're professionals. It's just that I feel like at the current state of, especially this year, there's so much ongoing outside of competitive that is actually impacting negatively like all these kind of teams. And obviously there's like also the LPL part that we might touch on later. I just feel like it's like being like I'm trying to imagine like being Vladi, being Guma, or like even Zeus when the whole thing happened off season, being them and just having to go through people shitstorming them in DMs, potentially death threatening them. Like that's hella scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And
the
it
thing
feels
with
like you're just basically being violated consistently all the time. And if you do fight back, then something like the Vladi thing happens. That would then you'll get even more shitstorm because of it. So like what's the solution? Like I'm actually wondering like what's the actual solution right here, because
Yeah.
you don't have ways to fight back. If you do fight back, it's bad. If you don't fight back, you're basically destroying yourself. You're destroying your mental. So then the other thing would be you just do the kind of, I call it Chinese social media way, which is you basically disappear. But then what that causes is the thing you were talking about, Lee, which is basically causes like this kind of disconnection with the fans, and that's also something that the team do not want. So
especially a team like
there must
T1
be
where
a
they're
good
where they're like idols there and they have to be present, like part of the job.
yeah, like I think it's that's something that goes through when fans are being very obsessed with their idols. Like I don't want to say it's a normal reaction, but it's like it's apparently it's a very common thing. It's just that doesn't apply just to esports itself. It applies to like K-pop, music artists and stuff. It's you feel like you know, connect with them on a deeper level, and you want to know them because you think that they're like they're praised very high in your like in your mind, and so you'll go way beyond the limit to actually be connected with them.
It's like beyond parasocial with with like the idols. Like they're not allowed to have like public boyfriends and girlfriends because like you need the fans to believe that they've got a chance basically, and it's like controversial if one of them comes out to have a partner. It's crazy.
So I feel like actually there are ways to fight back. It's just that you have to do it in a proper way. To me, like I feel like, for example, I remember Tagamas last year when he was getting shitted on a lot. I think he just did a post to say he was gonna get out of socials and that everything just was too much for him and everything, and that he just wanted to condemn the fans. And also, I think the casters at some point said something about him that was not that nice. And he also like said that the casters were just like not professional in their way of talking about him. And I think like it's a good way, to just like say things just in a in a gentle, but also like you say what's on your mind, but you just say it in a gentle way. Like it's, it's not a bit like it's not what Vladi did, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah,
For
but
sure.
and other than that, I also feel like the problem with all of that is that those players, especially in esports, they are very very young, and that's another problem in when you look at the grand scheme of things, that they are just like building themselves as men, and maybe that's like that can be a bit traumatizing to get that much shited on the shitstorm going towards you. Yeah, I don't think it's something that any young man should have, right?
I think what's
Yeah, that's why. Sorry, Lee, it's like that's why I think actually like teams should, given like obviously it's a very strict time, but actually should kind of help educate the guys, because I think that actually the teams are very aware of these, and it's not like they've started an esports team like 1 or 2 years ago. It's like they've been, whether you've done streaming content, or it's like they actually know how things can evolve and develop over time. So it's like something like the Team Liquid stuff on Rainbow Six, was it? I think something like that should be enforced. Like you do actually media train them, or actually just give them at least some fixes or solutions to get around it, to help them
Yeah, some tools.
alleviate at least alleviate part of the stuff, because I don't think it's completely inevitable. It's just that you need actually to tell them that like this is going to happen. Just be accept that it's going to happen, and just don't try to be bothered by it. Obviously, it's very easy to say and it's harder to to do it, but
No, but if you
I think,
prepared, I agree. If you
yeah,
prepared,
but
it's
actually, if you
always much
let them know
better.
that this thing is thing and you will be supporting them throughout, I think that's actually going to be much better for the long run, and it's not going to get into the player's head as much, because I think that the issue at here is that it actually gets into the players' heads,
Yeah.
and then they start playing badly, and then it causes an ongoing loop where the more they play, the worse they get, and then the more shitstorm they get. So, like for example, I think T1 in that sense is actually pretty aware of this, and it doesn't feel like that even though these things happen. I think partially they got used to it, but they're actually able to show up every time. Like obviously, like now beating Gen G for the second time doesn't like scream insane or like incredible thing, but the fact that they were still playing well, and it actually then for example like stomped KT yesterday, it goes to show that their mind is not there, or it's like I think their focus is so much on being good that everything else gets filtered out. And maybe it just comes up as the moment they don't really have like matches to play, or like Worlds is over, like off season stuff.
I think it's worth worth praising Guma for not like seemingly not being affected by the stuff either. Like Ethan said, he's played really well this year. And to be fair, what's kind of sad about it as well is when players are getting criticised. Of course, there's all these things that you could tell them, try not to go on social media as much, or be careful with how you respond and this. But actually, ultimately the best thing a player can do is just fucking play well and shut people up. But Gumayusi can play well because of the scenario where it's not actually to do with how he plays, but more about how he got selected to be the starter. Doesn't matter how well he plays, people are gonna have the complaints now. So it is really unfortunate for him. There was also this kind of like sub drama with the LCK casters, which basically it seems to be like a permanent thing now. Whenever they, it's not, I wouldn't even say whenever they go against T1, but whenever they don't praise T1 in the way that some of the crazier fans think they should be praising T1. And this tweet from Chronicle like kind of triggered it a bit. I think it was after, I don't know if it was that match. No, because it's a couple of days later. But yeah, about Ruler being player of the match in some game, and then a fan saying that, kind of saying that if this was Gumayusi, then it wouldn't have been player of the match. Basically saying like Gumayusi needs to go above and beyond other ADCs to be picked as player of the match, as though there's like some kind of bias against him. So this is from presumably the pro Gumayusi camp. And Chronicler would reply just saying, if my favourite player was playing alongside the best support of all time, I'd just be happy for him. Which kind of sent a few people into meltdown, I think. The implication there being that they think that he's saying that Gumayusi is only playing well because he's with Keria.
Yeah.
And then Chronicler had to come out clarifying that. He said, I've been permaglazing Guma on broadcast. Literally the next tweet, I call him the second best AD in the league. The treatment he gets online is really fucked up, but the sole point of this tweet is how good Keria is, has zero judgment on Guma, stop reading into it. I guess what he's kind of saying there is not that Guma isn't playing well or isn't a top player, but when he maybe gets the same scoreline that Ruler gets, in Guma's case, it is more likely to have been partly down to Keria's input as well, and that maybe you take that into account. I don't think that's like a crazy take, and it's not like...
Imagine just using KDAs as a way to decide POMs.
Exactly, yeah.
I agree.
And it's not like... it's not against Guma either, it's just saying Keria's fucking sick, which obviously he is.
And also, like, most likely when Guma get that scoreline, Keria get the POM anyway, so...
Yeah, true. But then, because you're... As a fan, then you're like pitting players. You're not actively doing it, but if you're saying things like that, you're sort of pitting them against the other players, because then you're saying no, it is Guma that who's the one that's the best. It's not Keria. Keria didn't have that impact that you're saying he did. Or it's just like also like infantilizing of the players as well. Like again, as I say, Guma has been handling it like exemplary, and he's playing really well. And then that's all he needs to do. You don't need to he doesn't need people to kind of go so defensive for him that you're attacking people that do like him. Like, you think any of the this is the craziest thing I find with LCK commentators getting stuff. I know Orcs gets so much shit, and I know he kind of over the last year has started giving it back, which probably makes him get the shit worse. But to be an LCK fan, like, do you really think the LCK talent don't like T1? Like, they're the most successful team in the history of the region. They've got the best player of all time. Do you really think they actually dislike T1? Like, obviously they don't. They're just going to try and give their best analysis. And then when they get some of the crazier fans going at them every 5 minutes, then it is going to irritate them. And they're more like, they are more likely with like Orcs' case to start going back at him a bit and digging into the fans a little bit, because he's he only takes so much of it, I suppose. But yeah, that was that. Now I need to fill in 5 seconds of production stuff. Hold on, nearly there. There we go. Now we're ready, and now we could talk about the LPL, which also just every region has got drama. It's crazy, but we can talk about some of the actual gameplay stuff for a minute, I suppose. In the look at the LPL, I think you've put it in the doc, haven't you? Davide, is the 6-way fight for Worlds. So is it?
Yeah. So like, I'm just like, the LPL stuff is a little bit, has been like very crazy to me, just because like it's literally come partially out of nowhere and partially like during exactly the same time the drama was happening. That was like, this is like too coincidental to be a thing. Like, my takeaway, and I'll go with my takeaway. Like, my takeaway is, I don't think the punishments are proportionate to what's being done. Like,
What is this for? The
like
Milky
this kind
Way
of stuff.
stream stuff?
No. Like yeah, but also the
Shanks?
Shanks one. Shanks.
Oh, I
I
think
think.
that's what I was thinking of. Sorry.
Like
Explain
the
the
Shanks
backstory because I
one
don't know this
is.
one too well.
Ooh. Like I have to check back the whole thing, but basically what happened is that Shanks and other like ex pros, including Ala and Icon, which are basically now. I think it's Icon is like streaming. I think most of the time he used to co-stream LPL, but he basically now got co-streaming rights taken away from him after this. So basically, they were harassing a girl online that was
It was live, yeah.
basically like that was streaming herself, and there was like a whole thing about, I think that the topic was sex workers, and basically they started going at her, and it's like threatened her to actually like go find her and then kill her. Apparently, like Icon
Wow.
said that
Yeah, I
like
can
some
say that, yeah.
crazy stuff, and then Shanks got also like involved in between because of misogynist takes on this, and the fact that he said something like, "Oh, I have to like answer you, like discuss with you with this, and I can't go to sleep," and it was like 7 in the morning, when it's like AL was usually known for known to be a team where it's like they're very strict on the schedule. Like even Tabe was, uh, you know, very at MSI, I think, during interviews, like
Oh, Kate was
explaining
streaming
how
it, yeah.
they usually have like set schedules, like training regimes and stuff. So that came out of out of nowhere, and
Just to add
it's really
context, he also Shanks also said that he wanted the girl address to give her to her friend, to his friend, something like that. Like he was forcing a bit for her to give her address, to give him her address.
yeah, but like the whole thing for me, it's just it's just insane that players get caught in this kind of stuff, and they actually like actively participate in these kind of discussions. Like you shouldn't be doing that. You should know better. And obviously the misogynist takes really rubbed people off. Of course, it's like it's expected. And now it like the whole AL fan base got basically kind of triggered by this, and like even like myself watching Shanks and like actually enjoying this player, like this kind of stuff happening really threw me off, because I'm now questioning like the way he's being, you know, and that's usually the worst thing about being like the worst thing of an esports player, like when you realize that the personality might not actually be in line with what he's showing to you on camera or like during on stage. Like obviously they're going to have their own personal like private stuff, but it's called private for a reason. Like, or like you have your own takes, you can just keep it on your own. You don't just go publicly and uh openly state your opinions with the risk of them potentially getting like shitstorm back. And it's just the whole thing for me, it just goes to show like how esports on a certain level is still very lacking in this kind of part. Because obviously I think it's very important to have strong and deep connections with fans, or like with people in the scene. It's just that sometimes in the heat of things people forget that they're actually public figures, and like everything they say will be with the like anytime we say with the bigger lens. So like even the smallest thing, like even the smallest thing you say can get 100% more impactful because it's said like being said by someone. And I guess that's also why I respect like someone like Faker so much, because like we sometimes not like complain, but it's like we know that he gives very PR answers, but that's because it's who he is. Like if he says anything controversial, that thing will get so enlarged and potentially out of control. And I think he and the T1 players deeply know this thing, which is why they're very careful on what they say usually when they're on the record. But yeah, like it's and now it just throws a curveball like on just AL, who actually on like weirdly enough they just beat BLG yesterday in one of the craziest BO3s I've seen in like regular LPL history. It's like I don't know if you watched the games, guys, but it's like the third game was like a 50-minute game with like they went to Elder Dragon and then AL won the fight and just basically beat BLG out of nowhere when like BLG was in their honeymoon phase with Shadow.
And while being at a crazy performance on Ornn, like I never saw a player play that
yeah,
well on
like
Ornn.
he usually gets shit on for not being able to play Ornn, and he's actually like 10-0 and 20.
Yeah.
And the only time he died was literally the last fight because like AL stole the fucking Elder Dragon and then ended up winning. It was like a crazy game. Like if you just look at the score, it's like crazy. Like 50 minutes. It's been a long time we've seen this kind of stuff. But it also goes to show goes to show that going back to like the competitive side of things, I think we're actually hovering towards more like a late game meta because like
Yeah, I agree.
we're starting to see a lot more carries, like late game carries, especially with the release of Yunara, who I think it's actually been quite a nice addition. Like actually I haven't gotten to play her that much, but I feel like it's kind of in a healthy state right now. Like I don't think she's super powered, like overpowered. I think she's actually good in a lot of like scenarios right now. And like considering we got Severe, we consider we got also some Aphelios back. It's good to see some change because I think we've had Lucian for so much. We had Jinx, Jin being played, and Varus again as well. Like these kind of champions being played so much over the past few months that it's nice that we're slowly trying to like we're seeing some other ADCs. And yeah, like 6-way fight. It's honestly like turning more into a 4 now that like I think AL was just in a very big slump after the initial first few losses, which is why I think I still rate them very highly. I'm not sure how the whole thing outside of the game might affect them, but I don't think this is the case because actually they're showing up on stage. But it's like you clearly have BLG, AL, and then it's like IG, I think. I'm actually really surprised. I'm really excited about IG, not just because of the players they have.
Gala.
Yeah, I mean, it's just aside from God, like, I'm a big like I like to see Wei actually getting kind of like his redemption story as well.
Yep.
And he's actually clicking very well with the Shy and Rookie. Um, and then obviously top esports were obviously the domestic champions. Like, I still don't get it how they manage to do it every single time. It's literally insane. I just hope that this time around they actually have a decent, showy at Worlds because
And
I'm
in
always
BO5.
like I'm always scared about this team. It's like they're so good, but then that it's like it's kind of like I don't even think there's like a direct comparison for this kind of team, or maybe Fnatic in that sense. But
Yeah. That's true. That's a bit like Fnatic.
you can kind of argue it's like a little bit like Fnatic. It's like they have really talented players, really good stuff like upside, but it's just like out of nowhere they're like kind of disappointing. It's not like KT level that it's like they're usually disappointing you and then out of nowhere they have like some highs. It's like they start very high and then like out of nowhere they'll like do this and then fall really hard and then to the point where there's like no way to come back.
It's funny how they always come back in every split, like it's like
yeah,
every start
exactly.
of split they reset. Like
yeah, exactly.
Doesn't make sense.
But aside from that, actually, like there's like even Weibo and JDG are still okay. Like I think these two teams are slightly lower than the other four, in terms of like seeding. But even the fact that Weibo is still like keeping like staying there or close there shows that even that team is like decently placed. I'm actually just shouting out my team like my WE boys. I feel like if that like W is like DK last split, it's like if all series were BO1s, be like the W were probably one of the best teams in the league. It's just sad that the considering how they play last split, they're not like I feel like they're showing their level. It's just that actually the other teams are like stepping up, and so like they can take games, but it's like taking series is a completely different matter. And actually, I think they more deserve, like they definitely deserve to be higher than FunPlus. I think FPX is probably the worst team in this league,
Yeah,
like
I agree.
in this group.
Sadly, I agree.
So it's like it's going to be very competitive because it's going to be just 4 teams at Worlds, and then you're not even sure that one of the 4, like the fourth one, will make it because they then have to play the LCK fourth seed. And probably this year, like I'm actually a little bit more hovering towards LPL getting 4 seeds over the LCK just because of like KT, Nongshim, and DK haven't looked that impressive to me. Or like they like especially like for teams like KT and Nongshim who have to constantly play the best teams in the world, it can be so mentally taxing to get shit betted every time you play against HLE, Genji, and T1 that you
And your
actually might get
BGG.
to like you might actually get to playoffs that you're mentally destroyed because it's like you're basically like in the Dragon Ball Z, how do you call it in English, the Sanctuary, like you're training
Oh,
so
yeah.
much, but it's like if you cannot withstand it, you'll basically like burn yourself out.
Imagine your
But
BGG and you're gapping your opponent mid laner always, but your team just drag you back.
yeah, I mean, like honestly, man, if BDD were in any of the top 3 teams,
Yeah,
it would be so crazy. Like I would love to see him on
HLE.
on.
On HLE, to be
I
honest,
mean,
I would
yeah,
love
actually,
to.
yes. I don't like want to say Zeka is bad, but it's like imagine like someone like BDD on HLE, and that team would be hella fire.
Yeah. But to come back on the 4-way, I think like if the 4 teams that are actually the 4 best teams in the LPL, if it stayed that way until Worlds, I think you will send like LPL will send um, a good list of teams. To be honest, like I think they can do something. And also, I'm also very hype about IG because I feel like all the way to now, um, Gala and Meiko were not playing well at all. Like they were dragging the team back, honestly. And right now, I don't know if it's because of Way or anything, but they are looking very, very good. And actually, the thing is with Gala is always looking like the best AG in the world in summer. So I just hope that this time, if he happens to stay that in that shape, like from now to Worlds, I just hope he won't. How to say it? He won't. Just crumble under pressure in quarterfinal. Because like right now, I think he's known for being Mr. Quarterfinal at Worlds. Like he's just, I think since 2021 he always lost in quarter, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, I hope that if they stay on that shape, if they keep that ascending form, because to me they are playing better and better every time I see them play. I just hope, they find their rhythm at Worlds and they just don't crumble like many other LPL teams before them and like many Gala teams before AG. And also big shout out to Meiko. Meiko is actually like performing at an insane level right now.
There's still more dramas in the LPL, I think, as well. So I
Yeah,
wasn't
Milky
really
Way.
that
Yeah,
like I was kind of confusing the Milky Way and the Shanks ones, but yeah, there's Milky
There's
Way.
also the shadow one.
Yeah,
If
that so that
small
yeah.
we'll save that one for the end because that's the most unique one. The Milky Way one though, I mean, it's hard with some of this because we're used to everything playing out over Twitter and you can actually follow it quite easily. It's all over a Weibo and I'm just kind of seeing translated screenshots of stuff. Am I right in thinking the Milky Way? So, well, firstly, it was like allegations of some kind of match fixing, right? In like the Demacia Cup last year, that he'd maybe like tipped off a friend to bet on
Nest.
something. That one, yeah. So, yeah, who's clear on this one? Because the last I saw was supposedly saying that FPX had made a statement that the Weibo user who made the accusations was lying or something, and that person deleted their posts. But yeah, I'm not too clear.
Then I think they received to their office an evidence, or to their mailbox something, an evidence that he actually did it, and so now I think he's benched. So I think they said they took the measures against him. So I just think he won't play anymore in FPX until the end of the year. I think they will go back to Ivy. Was it Ivy, right? That was playing before him. So I think they will just go back to this guy, and yeah, that's very, very sad. Maybe we'll have the same trajectory as Bo, and maybe we will see him in Vitality next year or something like that. That's something I wouldn't be surprised to see.
Actually, yeah.
I guess the whole thing. I guess the whole thing was like FPX had to come out first. It's like this is kind of like the PR strategy. Or it's like when do you call it, like PR crisis? It's like you kind of have to come out first to say that you're clear. It's like you kind of want to protect your own player. I guess that, like you said, it's literally after they they went out with that post, someone then actually took the effort to go and give them the evidence that something like that, like Milky Way actually did something, and so now they decided to take action, which I think, like from XPX side, is very well done. I think they actually learned from something that happened a few years ago. They've been very very let's say they learned their lesson. So it's like,
And they went fast. To be honest, they were
they
very
actually went
fast.
fast. Yeah,
answer,
like this is kind of like this is kind of the whole thing for me. It's like I feel like in the Chinese league there's like different weights. Like there's no clear framework when it comes to this. Obviously, it's really hard to have like an exact framework that covers everything. It's just that the some of the stuff that happens outside doesn't get punished, or like gets punished to not an appropriate conduct, like appropriate level, is something that like you should hold players accountable. And then while I do understand it's from AL side, it's so important to have Shanks from a competitive standpoint and basically like not to ruin their season. On the other hand, like the whatever punishment they did was like with salary pay or bonus pay, I forgot. It doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah, I read it was bonus. You wouldn't get a bonus pay for like 3 months or something. But I suppose with
we don't know how much bonus that is, but it's still like, I'd rather you have told them, like, aside from that, you actually like tell the player to like get the media train, like even something like that makes more sense to me than actually like stripping him of money.
Yep.
Because it's like the whole point here is not him being punished for salary. It's actually him for saying like very like misogynist things, and it's definitely like not ethical and like morally correct,
And yeah, I suppose with FPX's case as well, it's the thing that I think we've kind of come to be aware of with the match fixing stuff that happened in Valorant and the allegations there, is that well, not even just from that, even beyond, but like it's just so when there's allegations of match fixing, you can suspect things, you can see things in the game that don't look right, whatever. It's unless you literally have evidence of the person admitting that they were doing it on purpose, like you can't ever really prove it. Like it's you can say that you think this person threw this situation, or this person's done this. Like for example, to go back to like the
Yeah,
most.
but in this way, in this case for Milky Way, it was actually him leaking drafts apparently, because like
Yeah.
it was more about uh apparently it's like
Was it a pick or something? He
in
said they were
China
going to
you
pick. That was gonna happen.
you can basically kind of bet on which picks or like which champions get picked or banned
Yeah.
in any given draft, and so he basically leaked his team strategy to a friend or
Yeah.
like someone he knew
Yeah.
to
Again,
bet
even that,
and
like,
make money.
yeah, without having, and I don't know what, like, I'm assuming because it says in their statement. Again, it mentions that at first says they did their own investigation. They determined the things were untrue. And then that's when they obviously backed Milky Way. It says on the evening of August 11th, the club received a report alleging that they had violated regulations. We took this seriously, immediately suspended his matches. We reported the matter. And yeah, so presumably they've been given evidence, which is like the only thing it can be is like him literally saying like a messages, like DMs or something of him agreeing it. Because what happened, like the most famous esports example of something like this, which maybe you wouldn't call this one match fixing, but it's in the same boat of like competitive misconduct or whatever that relates to betting. And yeah, the most famous one that did get caught was the Counter-Strike iBuy Power stuff back in like 2014 or something. I can't remember the year, but with that, it was like everybody knew as soon as it had happened, pretty much. So there was this team, iBuy Power, that were like the best NA team. They were playing an online best of one match that they were supposed to win easily, and then they got smashed. They watching the game, there was like ridiculous stuff they were doing, and it was like seemed very obvious at the time. And then the day after, a player that was not related to that team had some messages leaked where he's telling somebody, bet on this match because I've been told it's going to be rigged. But it was like unconnected to the team itself. So even with those messages, no punishment happened because you still couldn't prove that those players, like there was nothing from those players that proved that they did it. And the way that they got caught in the end was like 6 months later, someone's ex-girlfriend leaked messages of a person telling her, like, who was her boyfriend at the time, basically saying like, oh, you remember this match that people said was rigged? Well, actually it was, and I was the one that was doing the bets, and they were like giving me the money to put the bets on. So it's not until literally something like that happens where somebody leaks it that can actually punish this stuff. So presumably what FPX have gotten here is something like that, like they've actually been sent the messages or whatever from Milky Way agreeing to that stuff. I don't know if has there been anything from Riot on like they're looking into it. I've not seen anything about that, but then I don't know. It might be from like the LPL, whatever.
No, I think FPX just reacted so quickly. Riot didn't really have to do anything, to be honest. Like they just said we're gonna take the actions against the player. I think they kind of said that he was benched. I'm not sure, but
yeah, it said it here.
So
yeah, suspend all cooperation with the player.
yeah.
Actually, it does say in accordance
So
with tournament rules. Yeah, pending the official investigation's conclusion. So I presume like the league would be looking into it. But yeah, maybe, that might just.
I mean,
be
usually when
missing.
this kind of stuff, it's like I think there will be technically there should be a competitive ruling. So
Yeah.
like FPX did their own by actually suspending the player. But then it will be up to, I think, the LPL to decide how much of a ban, like how long of that ban will be.
Yeah. And to
in
be fair, I
case
think
there's any.
like when Riot closed their Valorant max fixing I can't even say it, match fixing investigation. I was looking through like their competitive ruling site, and to be fair, most of the posts are just when they say like we have found this thing from this player and this is the punishment. Like they won't necessarily always say we're starting an investigation. Like that might not necessarily be something they announce. They might just drop it once they've once it has been investigated. So
yeah, it's like
they may be
usually
looking at it
like
and they
even
just
when there
haven't
was
said
like
anything.
the whole VCS thing, I think that like or like past LDL players, I think that was like they would come out with the competitive ruling sign like this guy will get X and then the other guy will get X. It's like always like that. It's just sad, honestly, you know, because obviously Milky Way was a very anticipated player, and we know how like Chinese junglers are really good. Like you can really say that there aren't good junglers out there, and but I feel like every single one of them somehow gets in between random stuff that they shouldn't, and you know, it's just sad that another guy who potentially had very good potential and like even the chance of playing like on a top team, I think, over the next few years, it just you know he was partially contract jailed last year, so he couldn't really move around, and the top teams weren't actually willing to take him. I guess. And so he had
Reminding
to
me of
like,
someone.
ooh.
Zhu Yongbo.
Man, it's so sad to see him gone. Honestly, like
Yeah.
I like judging. Like I'm not going to talk about like putting the betting things aside. Um, just how insanely mechanical this guy was. Like he was one of the few players that was willing to watch solo queue and like spend time watching his solo queue just because of how insanely this guy was on any champion he played and just how dominant he looked.
Yeah.
Every single time, like every time he stepped on the rift, you would like you knew he was going to get a few kills and snowball the way like the game into his own, and the only way he would lose is just his team, like his teammates in team very very badly. But yeah,
Well, talking of jungler drama in the
junglers.
LPL, then let's go to this one.
Shout out to my boy.
This has got
Shout out to
this
my
has got to be
boy.
the most
Just
unique.
one sec. I'll be right
drama.
back. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, you can go ahead. You can go ahead.
Yeah, so I feel like this is the most unique kind of drama I've ever come across in League or in esports. Where for those that aren't aware, well, we spoke about it last time actually about Shadow going to BLG, Davide being one step removed friends with him and has played with him. Of course, was like an Italian player or like was deemed Italian when he was playing in the LEC. But yeah, clearly was like a dual citizen, and has gone back to China for years now, and he's finally got his chance at BLG. And then someone has reported him to the authorities for using his Italian passport. And I guess like, are you not allowed dual citizenship in China then, or not with?
So yeah, like I can talk about this because like obviously my identity like hits quite well. Essentially like Chinese government, like Chinese do not accept dual. What happened with Shadow was basically he got like there was some pictures of him floating on socials where he was basically showing like his Italian passport was showing, which means that that's what I think he was using to travel around. But obviously, like people were wondering, like why wasn't he considered an import in the LPL, even though he should be technically Italian. And so basically, what happened was like he was probably playing too well for some people, and someone decided to kind of like, let's put it out nicely, but like fuck him over, but by reporting him to authorities, and then like the whole thing was they just decided to like they got rid of his Chinese one, and so the Italian one is staying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's actually crazy.
It's kind of tricky because it's like I think every country has their own system, so you know, apparently like and I'm not sure what his exact condition, like his exact state was, but I think it was like once you're 18, like now you just gotta one, like he's still playing, so I don't think it's going to affect him that much.
Yeah.
I think though he probably will need to get a visa, like a working visa, because he's technically Italian. I don't think that will be a big issue for BLG. It's just that it's going to be, you know, some additional administrative stuff to go through. But yeah, like it's good that at least this guy still like can play, and BLG doesn't really get fucked over by
that's
this
the
kind of stuff.
And
That-
it means that we have our first European, like
Of
a first
course.
European import in LPL.
Let's go,
So that's
LEC,
crazy.
LEC import. Let's go.
We've just got our
man.
first LEC import, and he's been playing there for 5 years. Crazy.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
actually been pretty good, you know. If you put it that way, he's been like mid pack and like
He's
even
been grinding
top
slowly.
pack, like top pack at best and mid pack at worst. So you know.
But yeah, it is mad because so in this screenshot, I think this is like a translated screenshot as well.
Yeah.
That's like from some kind of report about it, where it says this is a professional esports player. He was born in Italy and previously claimed to have chosen Chinese nationality at the age of 18. Recently, it was discovered that he was traveling in China with an Italian passport. Please ask the immigration department to investigate. And then the
Question
reply
I was asking myself, like, who sent that?
it must just be a fan that they've sent it to like an immigration authority or something.
But why?
Well, like
Why?
a rival fan. If you want your team to be first in the LPL and BLG might beat them,
Yeah.
you want to get their jungler deported, basically.
Like,
I
how
guess
did he
is the aim
search all of that and everything? It's crazy.
there. Crazy,
to
isn't
me,
it? Yeah.
but-
So and then the reply that they got
I
back.
mean, actually, like that, it's quite. I guess it's quite normal in that sense. It's like just because, like, I think it was mainly because of there was like a picture of him actually showing the Italian
okay.
passport somewhere. So it's like people were like wondering, like, shouldn't this guy have Chinese citizenship? And then
Okay.
like people started like actually being like Sherlock Holmes and
Like,
you know
it
Detective
started from
Conan
a mistake
level.
from him, right?
I'm
Like,
not
it was
sure who
his own
posted the
mistake.
picture, but it's like there was
Okay.
like apparently like it was a picture taken at an airport, presumably. I think I've seen it somewhere on socials. I just don't really remember who was the one posting it, whether it was like an outlet or Weibo them, like with BLG themselves.
Yeah, because
or
teams always do
or
that
a
when they
fan.
travel, don't they? They do a picture in the airport before
Yeah.
they fly. It's probably like hanging out of
Yeah.
his pocket or something.
Yeah, and so that was kind of the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So then it says upon verification, they had required an Italian citizenship and has automatically lost his Chinese citizenship. Thank you for your interest and support. But yeah, so luckily it doesn't look like it's affected him too much, which is the nice part. Which
I mean, the
which
only
means we
thing
can
would
laugh
be the
about it.
working visa.
Yeah.
Like the only thing that would have probably stopped him is he had to get a visa technically, and that should have technically prevented him from playing, because technically playing is working, of course. But the fact that he's still playing means that they probably have found a fix or like a way to kind of work around it.
Yeah.
Or maybe they just had everything well sorted all along and that was never an issue. It's just that like the whole thing came out because there's a whole debate of BLG now not having a pure Chinese full Chinese roster.
Oh right.
Like everyone can have their own take on this because like there's like a lot of fans in China still have that dream of wanting to see a full Chinese team lift worlds, because obviously every year LPL has won was always with some Korean imports, and they still hope that there will be a day that a full Chinese team takes it. But now if you put it that way, the like BLG doesn't have
Chinese
it,
players.
Up Esports doesn't have it, AL doesn't have it. Who's left? Why am I? Oh, IG doesn't have it as well. So like it's either up to. I'm trying to think.
No, JGG doesn't have it neither.
Like JDG doesn't have it either. So I think it's only Weibo. I mean, Breathe, Kian, Xiaohu, Light, and
Crisp. No.
Crisp. So yeah, so it's like I think literally it's only Weibo right now. If we use that logic, you know. And then like why I don't why I don't dislike Weibo, it's like them seeing potentially winning worlds is kind of a stretch, you know.
Already them seeing go to Worlds is kind of hard, to be honest, right now.
Yeah. So it's. I'm just glad that it's not going to affect the competitive side of things because
But
I
hey,
think
it's Weibo. We never respect them, and
Yeah, for sure.
they ever do something in the end. Like the last 2 years, they just did something while they were not expecting to. So yeah,
Yeah.
let's
But
see.
yeah, like the whole thing was saying is BLG just still playing to a much higher level than they've shown these past few months, and so I'm glad that like the LPL is very. I think the LPL, as messy as it is, or as messy as it may look, the teams are actually like stepping up. It's just that it's a lot more about LPL being used to like contesting stuff. Like they still want to contest everything because they think they can like mechanically outperform you instead of being kind of the LCK-ish slower approach. We just have to see how that changes, or like if that shifts, like the meta shifts towards one playstyle or the other.
Like as you said, I feel like actually the game is shifting towards late game. So I think LCK might have something.
You mean better chances because
Yeah,
Genji is
better
the
chances.
best
Yeah.
late game team? Yes, of course. Actually, like for me, it's like the positive thing about this meta is actually potentially HLE kind of stepping up a little bit. Because
Not
I think
sure. I think Zeka is
I
the
know. I mean,
problem
of
at the
course,
end.
it comes down to the players, but it's like HLE compared to like in terms of what their comfort zone is, has always been team fighting. It's like
Yeah.
it's always been playing around Viper and kind of just work their way through this kind of moments. So it's probably a slightly indirect buff for them. But they still have gotta have like Zeka and Peanut actually showing up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like those two are not on the same level as the other
Yeah, I totally agree.
like mid jungles right now.
I
Not
also
just
do
saying
think
that they're
Viper and
bad.
Delight will be way higher if they weren't with Peanut and Zika, to be honest.
I mean, I still rate Viper and Delight as
Yeah, but
like
you'd rate them
on the
top
same
3.
tier as the other three. I just don't rate Zeka and Peanut as highly as Owner Faker and Canyon Chovy, of course.
I just feel like, for example, Delight is still looking like very, very good. And to be honest, right now, when I look at Keria and Duro, I feel like they are on another level, but because their team is helping them to be on another level, And especially when you play support, like your synergy with mid jungle has to be very important. And since right now they are not playing that good, they are not doing that much on the map. Yeah, I feel like Zeka is always getting gapped in lane, so it's kind of hard for them to have the impact they would have had with teams like T1 and Genji.
Let's move on to some comments that we've had from Chris Greeley, who is like the head of all of LoL esports now for the last couple of years. So this comes from, I think, a conference that he was doing in China, and then what he said was only was published in like Chinese outlets and has been then translated back to English. I don't have like
Yeah, it
word
was
for word.
like a Chinese esports conference.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like one of the. It would happen, I think, during China Joy, which is kind of like Gamescom. I'm not sure if it's like the exact comparison, but it's basically like a very games focused event,
Convention,
like
conference stuff.
expo, like yeah, expo booth. So it's like they usually have obviously representatives coming from all around the world, and obviously they had their like own esports part.
Yeah, so there was a couple of interesting bits that came out of that, I think. Firstly, there was talk of the Hall of Legends, and the interesting thing that's come out of that, he's confirmed that they're not gonna split it regionally. Basically meaning that like where we had the first one was obviously Korean, then we had a Chinese player, and then the thought was, maybe the next ones will be from Europe and then NA, and then it will rotate. He said that that's not going to be the case, which I don't So we've had debates on the Hall of Legends a few times, but mainly around the flaws but the biggest flaw being that it's just slow. Like that is the worst part about it, because I think from my point of view, it does make sense to do it like merit first, like put the players in that have had the biggest impact, and of course, like if you were to take like 20 players that you think should be the first 20, there would obviously be European and NA players in there, but like maybe the first 5, would the first 5 necessarily have any for sure? That's the kind of thing that could be debatable. So I understand, and I do, like, on the face of it, agree with doing it like purely on the merit, and if the first 3, 4, 5 are all Eastern players, well, that's fine. The issue clearly is doing it once per year. Like if it took to the 6th, 7th, 8th player to be from Europe, I think that's fine. In a world where that doesn't mean you have to wait 6, 7, 8 years to get a European player in there.
Like,
it's kind
I
of
think
crazy.
we already talked about it. But it's like maybe League will be dead when the first European comes out. So, like, what do we do?
I think there's got to be a rethink on it.
I mean, hopefully WASD WASD will save us. Like my take is like obviously from Riot's perspective, to put it that way, it's just a very pure answer to say that their options are open. The one thing that's obviously worth going through is the fact that the voting goes through like people within the scene. So I hopefully think that people within the scene will actually like recognize this as a potential thing, and so they actually try to give more importance, or think that there are some Western players that actually have had major impact on the scene, while not necessarily having the biggest milestones. And so that kind of then increases the chances of us getting a Western player maybe like 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, instead of like 5, 6. Because like I said, if it comes to competitive milestones as the main weight, you could and then plus just general influence across the global esport fan scene, you could technically have like the Shies there, you could have Burial there, because like of what he's done as a support. Like he's literally the only the only player who won Worlds on 2 different teams.
Outside of T1.
Hmm?
Outside of T1, I was saying.
Yeah. So it's like technically there, I think at least like 2 or 3 more Korean/Chinese players that could fit the bill.
Maybe Bengi too.
Yeah,
like.
there's so many. Like literally, like the fact that we can like say 3 names out of the top of our heads means that we might potentially get 3 more years of at least Korean, like Eastern players potentially on Hall of Legends. If we only get 1 by year.
Yeah.
So you just gotta wonder whether like the voting, like people voting actually for the scene will give that as a they will be kind of doing their own balancing act of choosing someone from the Western side. It's just that from Riot's perspective, I think they'll just they'll publicly say that it's we're not imposing choices.
Yeah,
but I think
actually,
in the end, the whole the whole Hall of
Sorry.
Legends thing is in the end it's a popularity thing. So I think that popularity will matter a lot. So I think there will be that will play a lot into play in the next at least 1 or 2 years.
Yeah, I kind of agree. And actually, I just wanted to ask you a question, guys. Like, would you say that Keria or Honor or even Zeus should like go before players like Caps, Bjergsen, Double Lift, things like that? Or because they're too young, it's not, they are out of the picture for now?
I could get Keria probably more than the other ones. Not just like obviously all of them have had like the 2 Worlds wins, the 3 finals in a row, but then he's also got like kind of the Uzi factor, where part of Uzi, or the biggest part of Uzi's induction wasn't like massive like silverware success, but like impact on the game. And Keria has
I agree.
been like one of the most impactful players for years now, and like leads the bot lane meta half the time. So I could understand him probably being ahead of Caps is a hard one. But double if Bjergsen, I'd probably put him ahead of them now. Just about. It doesn't if either of them had snuck an MSI or something, then maybe they'd still edge it. But yeah, I think like
So
yeah.
the thing I think this question is raising is also like, what about like the current player that already achieved more than the other one, you know?
Yeah.
And to be honest, like the thing is, the game is kind of young in reality, because it's been 10 years 12 years that the game has expanded to the worlds, you know. Like I'm not taking in consideration 2011 and 2012, to be honest. Sorry, my guys, but sorry Europe, but we're not in there. But yeah, I just feel like the game is so young that, to be honest, it's hard to, you know, say a player has had just more reason to be in the Hall of Legends, even if it was like even Caps won MSI in 2019. The last time he went to a Worlds playoff was in 2020. So you see, it's been kind of some times, right? So I'm not sure if uh, a player that just won Worlds twice in a row, that went to a World Final right before that, and that maybe will make another great run at Worlds in 2025. I'm not sure if this kind of player should go ahead of him, but I do think so, to be honest. Like when I look at the grand scheme of things, I do think so. It's just a question of, are we taking in consideration the fact that it's they are still young, you know, and that the Hall of Legends should maybe honor player that have had a long career. So yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Like for me, actually, I'm more hovering towards to like longer careers. I like, if you tell me like in 5 years time, would you put someone like Golden or Carrier into Hall of Legends? I would tell you yes. Would I put them right now in the next 2 years? I don't think so, unless like Carrier wins another Worlds, because then it would mean he would be the most successful supporter of all time, because now he's on par with Beryl.
Yeah,
And obviously in terms of popularity, like Carrier is clearly like way, way, way above Beryl. Like,
sure.
but it's like, what would be then one of the difference makers then would be the additional one. For me, like I said a few months ago, I'm still think towards like in general, like how much that person, like how popular that person is still is, and how much he influenced the game. For me, in my head, there's literally only one player right now, and it's still the Shy. Because if we always go by the thing of how much was he an inspiration for the newer generation of League players, he is literally the one.
Yeah, sure. And also, it's a different role that we already had. So
like he inspired so many like LPL top laners. He inspired so many like Eastern guys to actually show up, and he was actually one of the, like, he was the first one to lead LPL to a world championship. In terms of like Western players, by using that logic, I still think that Bjergsen and Caps would be higher for me, just because of how, when they came into the scene, or like when they were staying to the scene, they actually made the scene very relevant, or like way more relevant than it should have been, I think. Like, if it wasn't for Fnatic G2 rivalry back in 2016, 17, 18, if I'm correct, there wouldn't be G2, like Caps, G2 Caps in 2019. Like, having that run, there wouldn't be G2's greatest run, or like actually the greatest esports run, the failed golden road, you know. If it wasn't for like Bjergsen coming into NA, or like him actually like being Danish, going to the LCS and actually like leading the LCS for so many years with TSM, I don't think the scene would have had such an influence. And that's also kind of the thing that I have my issue right now is like we lack these people. Like, okay, Caps is still in the LEC, and luckily LEC has KC, like MCOI, and this kind of like new teams coming in with super strong fan bases. But do you actually have a face of the league like the LCK does? Not really.
I think Kalis could be one.
Yeah. Like I'm saying, like I'm not saying like there won't be one. I'm just saying that if you ask me right now, like who would be the face of the
Okay,
LEC,
yeah.
it would still probably be Caps. But does Caps actually like the current version of Caps have the same influence that Caps had
Yeah.
when he first came into the LEC? I don't think so. And so
Yep.
that then creates the whole thing, like the appeal around the league moves kind of away, which I think impartially can also be positive because it means that you're not solely dependent on one person, but it's always nice to have someone actually like be like kind of the representation of your league, because that will then, you know, kind of be a very direct ambassador kind of that way for your entire product. So like when you think of LCS, like for example, when I used to watch LCS in the past, I used to think about Doublelift and Bjergsen. Those two are gone. Who do I think right now can be the face in the LCS, like LTA? Like literally the only name that could come up to my mind
Inspired
would
for
be
me.
that would be Inspired, but it's Inspired because of his competitive results, but not because of necessarily his personality. Like I used to like Doublelift and Bjergsen because of their personalities as well, even though Doublelift was somewhat controversial in the past. But it was still a very like charismatic in that sense.
Then you actually have
And
Guipo, to be honest.
yeah, and like you could have Whipple, but it's like the thing is both of them are LEC imports. Let's go. It's like you know, it's
Bjergsen was an LEC import, man.
yeah. It's like it's always been like this, and I think like we maybe LPL we don't really give much thought to it, but like LPL has had so many faces of the league over the
Yeah.
past couple of years. Like they
And
had
currently, I think it's Knight, to be honest. Yeah.
yeah, they had the shy and Rookie at the time. Then they moved to Doinby when he was won Worlds. They had
Yeah.
UZI before that.
Now it's
Now you
Knight
had
and Bin.
yeah, you have Knight and Bin, and then potentially Shanks. So like new players coming in. There's always someone new that's actually trying to like lead the charge. And obviously, Kazuke always has the goat. Like, but like even if the Faker's staying, but there's always going to be like Ruler, Chovy, and these kind of guys who can also be faces. I think very recognizable faces for their own leagues. It's just that the LTA in that regard lacks a little bit, and also I think the LEC is not having that strong of effect, just partially because I think it's just being driven so much by the communities themselves. Or you could actually say that I think like Kadro could be, the face of the LEC in that regard, even though he's not technically working on the LEC anymore, but he has that kind of charisma or like that kind of influence over the scene.
But I do think it also all comes down
yeah.
to international results, to be honest. Like if we actually had a team or a player that was leading the charge for actually getting to a nice result at Worlds, I think it will shift, to be honest. Like I think it all comes down to this. Like actually, if Inspired is up there for the LTA, like when I think about LTA, it's Inspired that instantly comes into my mind right now. I think it's because of their run against GNG last year, of the fact that they did the best from the Western team at MSI, and that they looked strong against the Eastern teams. I think it all comes down to this in the end. Like it's always about results. It's just who can give that hope to the Western and to the European fans, and just give them that little spark that maybe something can happen soon.
Mhm.
To be fair, I mean, like, Caps and especially Faker, like, they're not charismatic, really. Like, but then they still can be like this massive figure because of the results, really. I kind of
Yeah.
felt, I felt for a while that if he wasn't on a shit team the last couple of years, that Kazi would have eventually been that kind of player. I felt like who had come out and like has throughout his time in NEC had only really gotten better and better to the point where he was in conversation of like maybe being the best AD in the league at points. And if there had been times where rosters had gone the right way, like could you imagine if
That's a hot take, to be honest.
Ooh,
I don't think
that's a
that's
hot take.
like it's like peak on like Mad Lions when they were still doing well towards the end. I don't think that's that crazy.
Yeah, but then
Yeah.
I think if you think about that, like you think about consistency, you will say maybe more Elioya. If you talk about that Mad Lions roster, for example, you know, like Elioya has stayed kind of consistent since 2021. So to me, I would more think about like Elioya taking over at this position, you know, or maybe Humanoid if he didn't.
The only reason I think
We know
Kazi
what
as well is
like.
like because he actually is like properly charismatic and like genuinely like really
Yeah,
funny
okay,
and
I
stuff. And
understand
I
that.
think for as like a personality could have been good, but then he's just on like a shit team now. So
Yeah, I agree.
not
I kind of
defending.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah, Elyoya is a good shout as well because charismatic in like a different way where he's like outspoken about like a bit of like a clear passion for the game and drive and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So yeah, that's a good shout too. Maybe just one more
He's
quick.
he's talking a lot about self-growth and everything, but yeah,
Definitely.
whatever.
One more quick thing as well on Chris Greeny's comments, and then we'll wrap up. Is that they said that team emotes are returning for Worlds as well, and I wasn't sure. Like, do either of you guys know when that stopped being a thing? Because that I can't imagine why they would have ever stopped doing those. It seems like so
2023.
like that.
The last time they did it was in 2023. Like they
So
just didn't do it for 2024 for
it's
some
so
reason.
weird that like if things where like
Yeah.
the teams like what the teams really want is revenue share for in-game stuff. Like that's what
Yeah.
everyone thinks would be the fix to the financial issues. Like I know that an emote isn't that expensive, and they would only get a few cents for each one probably. But of anything you could do, that is just seems like the most easy thing in the world. Like they all have the same background. You need someone to make a little square of a graphic for 10 minutes, and then you just put the PNG logo in front of it. Why would they
I think
not have done that?
I think I kinda guess why. It's because last year there was that all those personalized emotes from the teams. So maybe that's why. Maybe they didn't want to do like to add another layer to it. I guess it's about that, but I'm not sure.
I actually think it might be that, just because. And I still remember the BDS one.
Yeah, and also the 100 chip. Do you remember the 100 chip one too?
Which one?
Wait, like the 100 chips one, when it was
What
doing
did they
like
have?
Akali doing like this, and they changed it
Oh
doing like this.
yeah. Oh my god, yes. Throwback. Oh my god. I just remember the BDS one because it was like at the moment I saw it, I was like, nah, man, it's like that's going to be like spam pinged everywhere. And actually, I was playing League at the time, so I like very quite consistently. So I was like, no, I gotta like mute all emotes right now because otherwise, like people would tell me to hang myself. But I actually think I think that actually might be the case because I don't think they're doing stuff right like this
But
year.
then like,
Uh,
I don't know. Just those
No, they're
Worlds
doing
ones
this.
just
They're
seem.
not doing
Okay, fair enough. They did the other one, which would have been way more high effort because it needed like design teams and sign off and all that. The Worlds ones I just can't imagine that it takes like barely any effort whatsoever. And then for that to be
maybe
the
they
reason,
didn't want.
also for that to be a reason like, oh, you already got one emote this year. You can't have two emotes that get you.
Yeah,
50...
I guess it's about that.
You
Maybe
can't
there's
get two
a
emotes
question
where
of
you need to
share
sell.
revenue.
Like when you looked at the numbers, it was crazy. Like they would have to have sold like 150,000 emotes to get like 10,000 in revenue as a team as well. So it's not even like it's not a huge thing. And then I don't know. The Worlds ones just seem like such low effort. And also the thing with the Worlds ones is that people use those for years. Like I like almost every game I barely play League anymore to be fair, but almost every time I play a match there would be someone with some team's emote, and even if it's one from like season 3 or something. So I'm sure people do buy them. Yeah, it's good that they're coming back. I just think it was bizarre that they would have ever not had them. But there we go.
To be honest, I play League a lot. I don't see them
I do not.
quite often.
I have a T1 that I got unlocked through Hextech, so I'm sticking to that one.
But yeah, half of them probably Hextech as
but-
well. Then I've got one, I
Yeah,
think, as
like
well.
the one, like for me, honestly, like in that regard, I still think that Valorant is so much better in terms of actually like creating esports. You know, like kind of ways to allow fans to support the teams through this kind of stuff. Like I've been playing like Valorant a lot more recently, and it's like I'm just checking, like going through the esport bundles. Like every time I go in, I'm like going through all the skins and all the colors. And it's like this piece is quite nice. This one is so nice. I want to get this one. It's like I counted them. It's like 20. They're like out of the 30-ish, 40-ish teams. There's like 10, 20 of them that I want.
Yeah.
And then if I had to pay money for everything, that would be quite a lot of money, I guess.
Yeah, the problem is in Valorant you have weapon skins from any team, and in LoL you don't have that. If you want to have a skin, you have to win worlds basically.
And I get as well that I do get that it's way easier to do for Valorant because obviously League skin, like if you're going to do a skin for every team, you've got to pick a champ, and then there's 150 champs or 170 champs, whatever. And then in Valorant they just done the classic, which everyone starts the game with. Like everyone has a classic, so it's yeah. I get that it's easier.
It's the same weapon. You just have to change the color, kinda. So
yeah. There's gotta be a way, like I don't know, maybe like find a chroma or something, but
actually I think the way is the emotes. I think it's the only way.
Just do it for every team every year.
Yeah, I think what they did last year was a good one, to be honest.
Yeah. But even just the emblem ones just seems like such low-hanging fruit. And again, it probably doesn't get that much money, but it just seemed I don't know exactly what goes into it, but it just feels like it should be so straightforward to do that there's no reason not to just do it every year for every team. And
I kind of wish they had like team themed skin maps.
that's an option, yeah, or like having
like
team,
that would
pay
be
to
like
have your team's flags over the map. Like you see, where he has the sponsor flags when you watch a game.
Yeah.
Koi
It's like
flags,
you either
KC
have the
flags
flags
around.
or like the turrets themed within that color, and then it's kind of like you only get to see it on your screen.
Yeah.
But at least you're like kind of that kind of gets rid of the thing of you know, like having different champions and different skins and like all that shit.
The theme seasons and everything.
All that problem. But I can actually like have someone then like add features that actually make sense. And potentially like exploring that kind of thing. Because like for me, I think I said in the past, it's like the Christmas maps were so nice to me, and they were like very nice. I always enjoy to play on the Christmas maps. So like actually getting like esport maps would kind of be cool as well, you know. I guess there's going to be a lot of work because you have to kind of redesign basically the entire map every time. But I guess that if it's like you kind of find a similar design that you just wear to, you know, just change the colors or like change the branding, it would still make sense. But I would probably pay with like to have like T1 turrets, like or like, you know, when they shoot the laser, like there's like the color of the team, you know, something like that. That would be really cool.
Yeah. Cool. Well, there we go. That's all we've got time for today, I think, because I've got other stuff to do. So thanks for joining me, guys, as always. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
See you.
Bye.